Welcome to the Candid Conversation show. I'm your host, Marilyn Fontaine, artist and creative coach for women who want success and income with ease. So I have Deborah Parkinson here with me, and we're going to talk about her whole creative process. So I'm just going to get Deborah to introduce herself. So Deborah, can you just I know her as Debs anyway, that's all I would say. So can I keep calling you Debs?
Yeah, you can keep calling me Debs.
Yeah. So can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Okay, I'm London based in South West London, and I have quite a lot of hats, let's say. So my current passion at the moment is working with the ceramics. I've been doing that for the past 3 years. I have a full-time job in a corporate organization, and I'm also a therapist with the Reiki and everything. So yeah, there is a lot of things that I'm juggling at the moment, but there's a healthy balance between all three of them. There's a healthy balance between all three.
So do you work full-time?
I work full-time, but I'm quite an early person. So like I said, I wake up at 5:30. I start work about 7:30, and I finish at 3:30 in my day job, which kind of gives me a lot of time for the evening.
Because I thought that, because for some reason, I always thought you was part-time because of those times. But when I think about it, so it is a whole day, isn't it? It's just that.
Yeah.
So you finish at 3. What time and when do you fit in your other work, like your Reiki and your
Reiki? At the moment, Reiki's, I wouldn't say it's taken a back step, but because I still have people contacting me and everything. So they're like more my regular clients that I will see. And if I am really busy and I'm sort of kind of feeling I'm putting myself out there too much, then I just sort of take a back burner on both the Reiki and the ceramics and just give myself a bit of time, a bit of me time per se.
So what days do you do? So Reiki, is it just ad hoc? And
Reiki's ad hoc, but the ceramic I do up to 12 hours a week.
Okay.
And that's in the evening, or I might do double shift at the weekends.
So what's the 12 hours a week? Do you have you said about a studio. So is it what setup is it? You said that you rent space, you rent hours, don't you? Which is really
so it's 12 hours a week, and there is a space where individuals can go in there, and they've got like an area that they can store the tools. So everything is like you take all your own equipment, your own clay, and then the studio fires, because we have 2 sets of firing. You have the bisque firing and the glazing firing.
Okay.
That side, the studio, they look after that side of things. So I'm not having to deal with the kiln and so forth, that side of things. That's still all a little bit new to me.
So, I mean, I think it's because I had a studio in a massive complex, and I'm looking at one at the moment to get another studio because my work is getting bigger. But and I had, I coach clients anyway, and one of my clients is an artist, and her studio is in her house, and she often says that it makes her feel. It can be, although she loves her own space, it can make her feel isolated. And she would love somewhere just to go for a couple of hours. So, and also affordability, because studios can be expensive in London. They can be quite expensive. So, plus you've got to pay your gas and your electric as well, like meter and stuff. Where
that's right.
If you've got an inclusive space, like you said, you don't have to worry about the kiln and other stuff. You can just come. So it's kind of perfect emotionally for somebody who do work full-time, because that is half the stuff that you don't have to do. Like you don't have to worry about getting a kiln serviced or getting certain parts for it.
Exactly.
You can just come, do what you're doing, and just go. And I think that a lot of people probably don't know about that that service as much. They are aware of it, but they're not thinking in terms of, I'm trying to build a business, a creative business. Rather than shell out all this money, I can just, it's like a time bank, isn't it? I can just rent. But you said you've got your own shelf. Have it? You said something like you've
Yeah,
got.
so you've got two sets of allocated shelves, and then there's like a big communal table. So you might have 2 other people with you, 3 other people, and you're kind of bouncing off other people, because some throwers, they work with the wheel.
Yeah.
Like in Ghost.
Yeah.
I don't work
Right.
doing that sort of thing. Then you might see them using tools in a certain way, or you might see a new tool and you think, oh, what's that for? And so, yeah, because when I worked out what I was paying for the classes, the studio space worked out much cheaper. But you can't be, if you're new to it, you would struggle.
Yeah.
So you either do 2 classes with her, and if she has the availability. Now, where it is in near Tulse Hill, they've got like individual studios. So I think she's got 4, 5, 6. There's about 6 different studios. So you've got someone who deals with glass, who does blowing glass.
Yes.
Then you've got some painters. So there's all types. So it's a very it's called Parade Muse.
Right. Oh, it's in a muse. I love a muse.
And then so in the summer, there's outside space, so you can work outside in the summer.
Oh my
God. What else is there? I've been there since September, so it's been, well, I did classes in September, and then we started late October when I actually started doing that side of renting the studio space.
That is, I mean, I struggled as an artist with a studio sometimes with that community. Although we had quite a nice community in the studios that I was at, but because there was quite contained, so they were big, but I had quite a big studio to myself and my neighbor. Once you shut your door, that was it. And we didn't have that, because it was so big and there was like over 400 studios. I think you had to work hard to kind of keep that community spirit. Whereas I think when you've got somewhere smaller and you can work outside and you're sharing desks, that artistic bouncing off each other is so important. It's so important, and we underestimate that, because yes, artists, we do need that seclusion, and we need that time to ourselves. But I actually do love when I'm working, and I don't want you to tell me what to do, but I want, like you said, if I say, what do you think about this? Somebody else can say, well, why don't you do it this way? Because I quite know my process. However, I think it's really nice that when you are working, you have your peers, you know your answer to, your creative process, your answer. You can just say what, like you can just ask for advice, and they would tell you about a certain medium you can use. And then it's that sharing of, like you said, the sharing of ideas rather than instruction. And I quite like what you said about the artist who does classes. You can do classes with her. But also, is it her? It is her, isn't it?
Yeah. So what if she would sort of allocate and say, yes, you can have the sort of the rental side of everything. She would prefer like you do two sorts of sessions of classes, so that could be 2 terms of covering. Because what she's found is some people may do 1 term, they go into the room, there's no teacher, and then it's like, what do I do?
What do I do? Yeah. I think it's really good because, for one, it creates really good artistic practice. So you can practice, and you can learn the ropes from a working artist. 2, it gives the artist the money. It's a really good business concept. I mean, maybe they get sponsored, I'm not sure, but it gives the artist a consistent income on, a pillar of that. And 3, it also creates community. And I think
definitely,
really, really important, because she's been paid for that space. she can do other things as well. And, you know, like it's not so much stress. Maybe you could be stress rented, but maybe it's not so much stress in terms of the whole concept. And I think you're seeing that everywhere, where you're seeing co-working spaces pop up everywhere, because since the pandemic, we've done a whole pivot in terms of what is community, because we've reconnected, haven't we, with people and, you know, other, you know, like, I don't know, we've just, it just feels different to where everybody was quite isolated and had these workspaces where people didn't come together. When we were shut in small places for a long time, it feels like people now have relearned how to engage, or to at least be polite.
That's true. And I mean, with my full-time job now, I only go into the office 2 days a week.
Amazing. Yeah.
So that makes a huge difference.
Mhm.
So it seems a lot of what I'm doing, but because the studio is 5 minutes from where I work, I've
Yeah.
cut out stress time of you know, going into the office, commuting, which
Yeah.
wasn't too bad because I got like a motorcycle, so I would ride
Oh,
in, and
amazing.
I'm not too far from where I work.
Mhm.
But now obviously you've got more delivery companies,
Yeah.
more fast food people are on bikes. So sometimes it can be a little bit like riding around London is not how it used to be, say, 10 years ago or even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I do allocate back a lot more of my time by not having those stress. Also, being at home, working from home, you can put the washing machine on quite quickly.
Yeah.
You can do the odd things because they've realized, okay, you're working from home, but they don't expect you to be sitting at your
No.
table for 8 hours or 7 hours a day, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
you got more time to do things for yourself.
And it's good exercise. It's also grounding, you know,
Mm,
like whenever I work from home, obviously with my coaching clients, and whenever I finish a client, I would go and do things like wash dishes or put the washing out, because it's really grounding, those
that's
activities,
true.
you know,
Yeah.
and it move. And I wanted to touch on that when you said about the travel time. Again, when you're creative, you're often quite sensitive. And so as a sensitive, you can pick up a lot around you, and especially with commuting, you know, you can pick up a lot. So it takes a while for a lot of people to when they've traveled or commuted, it takes them a while to discharge and to relax for the evening. And by the time they do that, they eat their food, it's time to go to bed, or they just don't have
Mm.
energy because they've tried to decompress, discharge. Whereas the blessing of this pandemic has been that people work from home, not for everybody because it's not been so brilliant, but in a way, the space that you've talked about is really good because it helps those people to get away from their home and to, you know, to go to somewhere where they can go for a certain amount of hours as well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think the whole, you know, the pandemic has been, it's brought positive and negatives.
Mm.
And, you know, we as, you know, therapists, you as a coach, it's know thyself. It's like knowing
Yeah.
yourself, get to learn yourself.
Mm.
And that was a opportunity for people, as much as we was going through things, was the opportunity to start really knowing who you are
Yeah.
and what you can do, because there was a lot of people that was doing new creative things. They were cooking more. They, you know, they couldn't rely on the fast food and the delivery services. So, you know, a lot of people discovered new things about themselves,
Mhm.
what they wouldn't have had the chance if it never happened.
Yeah.
You know, some people did struggle because of the mental health aspect of
Yeah.
being isolated. You know, some people are not fortunate. They renting a bed set, they're in one room and they've got to work in that one room for that amount of time. That can be heavy, that can be pressurizing. And then when we was in a lockdown, there's no outlet to get out for them per
Mm.
se, because you can't go anywhere. So it has its pros and cons.
Mm.
And for me, it's had a lot of pros.
Yeah.
It's had a lot of pros. Um, you know, to be honest, you know, I felt that people never really gave that distance of space when you was walking prior.
Yeah.
And I feel like just being able to have that space, you know that saying, like, Marilyn, you've got your aura.
Yeah.
And how many people are passing through your aura all the time, and just having that 2 meter distance, you're kind of, for some people they'll understand what I'm saying, and others will just be like, what's she talking about, kind of thing. But that part was really important. It was just so nice. And the moment someone was actually coming in less than 2 meters, you could almost be like, you could actually say something and not kind of look mad.
Yeah.
So it was that time. That was a time when I sort of thought, you know what, this is so, you could be like spinning around and no one's in your space, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's where you see that meme with someone with a skirt on flaring out, and it's like 2 meter distance. So for me, that was really, working with energy, that was really nice. That was really nice, having that kind of space and being able to kind of, you're already stressed in what you're going through, but you've got that space to contain within yourself. It's like, oh yeah, I can kind of breathe a bit, because it's almost like now, it's like, what pandemic? Because everyone's on top of each other, everyone's moving at that pace again. So it's almost, some people have become awake from everything, and some have just gone back to being, okay, this is our normality.
With your Reiki healing, did you have a lot of people that wanted healing during the pandemic?
I was doing people via Zoom, or sometimes I was doing them via WhatsApp video. And obviously it was kind of different because we're doing a virtual session, but in essence it kind of works, because in Reiki you have distant healing. So there's no different. So you would be kind of going through everything with them. And then, I was doing exactly the same as if they were present. So I'd have my crystals, I'd choose the aurosoma, colors, oils that I would use.
You explain about aurosoma. I mean, I know what aurosoma is, but what is, did you do aurosoma training?
I didn't do the course. I went to Mind, Body and Spirit exhibition. And I saw these colored bottles where there were 2 different colors and they have different meanings. So for me, I'm kind of drawn by the colors. I have like a little understanding, but I've never done the training. But it's, for me, because I work with the crystals as well. It's like I prepare if I'm going to see somebody, and I did exactly the same. So when I was talking to them, I wouldn't show them the table. And then afterwards they would be saying, oh, I'm feeling this. And then what they were feeling, I would have, say, a green crystal, because I felt they were in balance with their heart, and different things of the aurosoma. And then I would sort of tilt the camera, and there's like, oh my God, you've prepared the table with all the colours that was needed before the session.
Wow. And so how long have you been a Reiki practitioner? And what does Reiki entail for the people? Basically, what does it? I'm a Reiki practitioner, but I know what it means. But what does it mean to somebody who doesn't know enough about Reiki? Like,
okay, in layman's terms, for me, is mother and child, mother and baby. So in the sense that the baby cannot communicate that it's in pain, it's hungry, but it's that kind of communication that you build up between the relationship. It's primarily energy. But if I say energy, somebody will go, well, what do you mean energy? The word is used very loosely. But in layman's terms, I think it's more mother and baby kind of communication. The mother senses what the child needs at the time. And that's the same with Reiki. So, some people hover, some people put their hands on the chest, onto the body, and there's different things that you can be doing. I also place crystals. So I incorporate mine with quite a lot. It's not just your basic Reiki session, because I tend to talk first, and then so it's almost like they're getting a bit of coaching,
Mm-hmm.
then a bit of Reiki, crystal healing. And
Mm-hmm.
it kind of depends on what the person actually needs, because they come in and it's not actually laying them down that they
Yeah.
actually need.
Yeah.
But that's when I'm working with clients that I've worked with for a long period of time.
Right.
And my philosophy is I want to give them the tools. I
Yeah.
want to show them what they need to do. I don't want really somebody coming to me for a long period of time
Mm-hmm.
consecutively. I'm sort of teaching them what they need to do. And then they come into me for when they need a top up, or they're feeling a bit troubled, or something's really troubling them. So I'm trying to give people the tools of what they need to do to start taking care of themselves. Reiki, so I've been a practitioner. So I'm a master teacher. That's been since 2009. And my Reiki journey's actually started 2000. So it's 22 years.
Wow. Yeah.
And along that, I've done crystal healing course. I've done a meditation teaching training course. But I just use all of those
Yeah.
incorporated in a session. So, as much as Reiki is the primary treatment, there's other little treatments that will come involved. And it's, you know as well, Marilyn, it's
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's intuition.
It's
You
mostly.
kind of you kind of feel like actually they need more this than this kind of
We're
feeling.
human, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, so to speak. That
Mm,
term can be overused, but I think exactly what I was talking about that with my therapist today, where she was saying, as a coach, that is because I was talking about how people pile on words of what they do and they make it really complicated. And the reason I just use coach, I'm many more things than a coach, but it's easy for people to grasp onto. The modalities I use is so many, but I
mm,
don't need to list the 110 different
no,
modalities because exactly what you said, it's intuitive. And so it's intangible because it's so vast in its energy and capacity. So um, you're right when you're saying that Reiki is the vessel, it's what you used to, you do. But like you said, the more after 20 years, you don't want to be doing hand positions and that's it. That suits some people, but for a lot of people, it doesn't suit it. And I would also go and I would bring up this thing is I think that when we learned a lot of our modalities, we didn't have um the cultural issue that was going on, what we've had in the last few years.
mm,
And I do feel that when you look at our traditional healers from the diaspora, our healing was very ingrained. It was generational. It was maybe an oral history of healing. It was a rites of passage. So you literally had to go through a really long term of study to become a healer. And it wasn't regulated. So obviously it could be a free for all. It could be good or could be challenging. But what I feel is that as human beings as we are, yes, it's really important to be ethically sound and have integrity, but every individual is different and you
mm,
cannot use the same process to match everybody, especially now
no,
as we're seeing intergenerational trauma surfacing, generational trauma surfaces of any race, sexual repressed trauma, so much different types of trauma that is surfacing. So you can't just, for somebody who may have had a difficult time physically, they may not want someone to hover over the body and do all the 6 positions on their body. They may want somebody just to work with the head and shoulders because that somatically, that's what all their body can take at the moment. So if you're not flexible, then that's going to be a problem,
mm,
because people may be too uncomfortable to say that. So being able to be intuitive and say, actually, this person doesn't really want me to touch them here. Let me just do the hands positions in a safe space, because we know about the energy bodies and how people can feel in certain spaces. More and more people becoming trauma. And I remember when I was studying massage, and I remember as a Black woman, I went to the local college because it was cheaper. I didn't get to go to study the really expensive. Remember back in the day, massage was like thousands, right? So I
Yeah.
lived in East London, I didn't have much. So I managed to get it for about £300. And I remember going to a beauty show, and I later started to train people in this. So it was VTCT was the body, the governing body, VTCT. And I remember going to one of the beauty shows to get couch roll or something. And I said and there was a man there, an old white man, and he said, very well spoken. And there was another association. That's what it was. It was like an association to join. And I remember saying, "Oh, I'd love to join this association because yeah, I'd like to do it, because then you get registered and they can advertise your services." This was like 20 years ago. And he said to me, "Oh, what's your qualification?" I said, "VTC." "Oh, we don't accept that. Standards are really low." And I felt so small, because I was like, and he said, "We only accept iTech or Sidesco or whatever it's called, or Institute of Massage, because the quality is so much better," in inverted commas. And so I really felt like, oh my God, maybe I should spend all this money. I remember practicing and being really busy with clients and thinking to myself, if I believe what that person said, I wouldn't be doing this. But
No.
you know what made me really busy? You know what made me a really good therapist? Is because I used my intuition, and I stopped using the standard positions that I was shown. I started to treat every client differently. And I only was able to give it up because I had an injury, but I was so busy. And when I taught massage, I always recounted that story, because just because you come from somewhere and you haven't got the best qualification, which has changed now anyway, but it doesn't stop you from doing what you're doing. But also we have to decolonize the idea of this is how it's meant to be, because you are channeling, when you're working with people, you're kind of shape shifting, you're kind of changing, you're kind of doing everything.
Exactly. And you don't realize that, when you're just explaining that, you kind of think to yourself, oh my, you don't even go into that concept of thinking that you're shape shifting somebody's energy or someone's being, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very profound. That's very profound. Because again, sometimes we're just constantly, we're always doing something. We're always on the move. We're always, sometimes we don't have the luxury to actually think in depth of what we're actually doing, because it's intuitive. We don't need to sit there and be analyzing it in a very textbook theory.
It doesn't work. I've trained hundreds, well, not hundreds, well, maybe 100 women in massage. And I took that story and I always said to the people, I used to make them practice sometimes in the dark, just so they could feel. Like some sessions, I used to say, like, feel, like, see with your hands. And I used to always say to my client, if you want to do well in this business, you're going to have to change it up. You're going to have to change it up and be really intuitive. Be ethical, but be intuitive. So exactly what you're saying about the different gifts that you have. And I can imagine even the gifts of your creative gifts, you bring that into the session, because it enables you to do that. During lockdown, I realized that space needed to be created for women of color, so they could be supported, because it was during Black Lives Matter around that time, wasn't it? And I remember the whole explosion. Imagine going for a pandemic and also that whole thing. And I work with anybody, as long as they're creative women that they want ease in their life. But it was a request, and so I created the membership, which is no longer. But how did you find the creative healing membership for you?
That was because I worked with you, like
Mm.
you was my therapist
Yeah.
prior to that. And then I think it was 2019, I got shingles. And then I didn't come and see you for a while. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden it was like I got back in contact. And then you were saying about your creative healing circle.
Yeah.
And I said to you, I told you I'll be back.
Yeah.
And that was just like, that blew me away, meeting all those wonderful women.
Yeah.
And, you know, we all still, most of us keep in contact. And, you know, you and Chia, especially Chia, that last reading, I remember it was in January 2020.
Yeah.
And before, you know, I never really sort of exposed all my work.
Yes.
And then I did that post on Instagram in January 2020, and it was it kind of
Yes.
thing.
You can
It
swear
was
here.
that. Okay, it was the fuck it post,
Yeah.
as if to say, you know what, this is my time.
Yeah.
And obviously it was kind of difficult because there was the pandemic, but that was really kind of part one, because not many people know on my social media that I'm also a therapist.
Yeah.
So there's there's like three sides to me, really. So, you
Mm.
know, I've got the therapist, the artist, and the corporate. But the corporate side really does put the business level into
Yeah.
perspective of what's needed.
Yeah.
And you said something that was really important, and it was like, you know, don't work in the black.
Yeah.
You know, put yourself out there. So I've got an accountant, and
Good.
everything is done, so there's a lot of transparency with my work, and I
Yes.
don't have to worry about anyone sort of saying,
Mm.
oh, I'm not sure about this person. And
Yes.
especially with my corporate side of things, you know, I have to make sure everything is above
Yeah.
board. For me it was very beneficial. It tapped into a lot of things about me,
Mm.
and just hearing perspectives of other women, and also how we were helping each other and
Yeah.
guiding and supporting. And that to me was a real game changer, because I can be quite isolate in the
Right.
sense that's my choice.
Mhm.
Because, you know, you can work with some people and you can feel that there's this competitiveness, and there
There's a
wasn't.
lot in our community. I'm sorry, it can
There
happen.
is.
Not so, I'm trying to change that.
We didn't have it in the circle,
Mm.
and that
No.
was beautiful. We
Yeah.
didn't have it in the circle. So for me, that was the circle was the turning point of actually putting myself out there.
Yeah.
And it was helping the youngers as well, because we've
Yes.
been through it. I remember when we did that financial course, and it
Yes.
was like, yeah, tick, I'll do that, tick, I've done
Yeah.
that, tick, tick,
And
tick.
it's
But
interesting. Go on, just carry on.
where
Carry on.
they were oh, like a second income. And it's like, I teach anyone that's younger, whatever you do in life, make
Mm.
sure you've got a job that if you lose your job, you can go and do something. Like you do the massage.
Mm.
So if you fell on hard times, you know, right, you know what, I can do this to
And it's
get
interesting.
by.
And it's funny when you said that, actually, because that comes from my parents. Because my mum always said, always have something else. But what I, I decided to write my own narrative was like, my mum was always have something else, which I always used to do something on the side. But I was like, I'm gonna make my something else my main thing, and make sure that that kind of works, and that is about putting yourself out there. Because I think when you get to a certain age and you've got certain milestones, like I remember we had properties, we bought properties in the circle, so we'd already crossed that milestone. But it's not
Yes.
so easy for the younger generation, especially because most of those women were younger. It's not so easy for the younger generation, where we had social housing, we had right to buy, we had, the banks was giving you cash back to buy your properties. So the work sacrifice that we had to do, we was able to stabilize ourselves. And a lot of people I know, my peers, have got their properties. But when I look at the people younger, they don't have that. So, and maybe that's not the be all and end all, but what he has done for our generation is help our parents or some of our people to actually um, build abroad, but we want to live now. We don't want to wait for the dream to when we get older. And I think, like I said, with the circle, I really put the financial season in for them, because we need to talk about money. And I keep stressing that we need to talk about money, and we need to start making our money, because if the pandemic has taught us anything, it's taught us that you have to be self-reliant, even and even if and I don't believe, for one, I think if you have a day job and it's easy for you to run your passion business, then do it. But if it's a cost to your energy, and you know that you can put your mind to it, and you've got a good get out plan, then I don't think you should waste your time. But because I believe everything should be ease, and that's my whole thing. I don't work full time. I'm working less and less hours, making more and more money. That's not about the money, it's about the energy. I'm pulling back energy. I think for a lot of people now, like yourself, it is easy, because even though work can be hard, you're still working from home, like you said. So you've got more quality of life. So you can do it better. But I just want to ask you, what plans do you have for the future in terms of your range? Talk about your range to me, because your work, for me, your sculptures, your pieces, they are, for me, they're really special and they're really beautiful.
Thank you.
They're really unique. I'm not just saying that, they're really unique. And sometimes, I'll be very honest with you, sometimes I worry when I see somebody whose work is really unique, and they know their work is different, but they've not embodied the magnitude of what their work is. I always worry that that person will not keep showing up with those pieces. And when I mean showing up, I don't mean, and I try to say this to coaching clients, you don't have to be in the best museum or the best place, but you have to show your work to the world. And it doesn't matter if it doesn't get in the paper, it just has to be out there. And your ancestors will know when enough is enough of it being out there, because you will get to feel it in your body. And so I always worry that sometimes, because the mind, we have to constantly work with the mind, that when someone has got such a brilliant gift, that they don't, they use all kinds of external validation to be, to say to them whether they're doing well or not. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So where are you taking these? Explain about these beautiful pieces, because obviously people won't be able to see it unless I'll put the podcast.
There's the famous one here, the lady.
So it's a lady with a red kind of. Could you explain?
She's got I bring her to the forefront. My headphones are kind of going. Mm-hmm. So this is my lady. She is my signature piece.
That's gorgeous.
She's my signature piece. Obviously, that's her.
Yeah.
This is the first statue that I did, in the sense of, it started off to be like a totem pole.
Yes.
And she just evolved. And then from her, I did other pieces. So bear with me.
So Deb's is showing, it's a kind of like, I'm going to post the image actually in the episode notes. Okay.
So you got that one. I don't really like moving them too much.
Don't move them too much. You can explain it if you want as well.
So little and you can't see.
Right.
This was the one that when I sent him unglazed but biscuit fired, he was saying, make sure you check where you ordained him.
Right.
And
yeah.
So a lot of people have come back where they feel that they're old pieces.
Yes.
With a modern twist to it because of the colours.
Right. But that's not necessarily true, because when you look at some pieces, some older pieces in museums, they have kind of art sculptures or pieces, drawings like that, which have been done in the 20s. They've got, because if you look at Muro, one of my favorite Spanish artists, some of his pieces have got those colors in it. And he's got an art piece called something at the back of a negress. I know the word, and it's one of my favorite pieces because it's got those colors. But like, again, I will put it in the show notes. But carry on talking. I'll find the piece.
So as it sort of became a hobby, and at the moment I'm just creating pieces whereby I would like to eventually show in a gallery.
Right.
So the pieces that I'm making at the moment, they're not really for sale. They will be to exhibit and show my artwork off. But unlike you, Marilyn, it's all new to me, this art world, and I'm embracing it in a very different way because I'm starting off really as a novice, and I'm coming in, and you know, it's a lot more. I'm doing a lot more studying. I haven't really looked at other artists or ceramics. I'm just going with what I feel.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that though. You know, I'm going to challenge you on that. So when you say unlike me, you haven't what? Say that again. Marilyn's going to start now. Deborah is like, oh God, there she goes.
No, I'm just trying to to me, you know, you can quote different artists and their pieces. For me, I don't have that. You know, if someone says, where do you get your inspiration from art? Somebody's always got another artist who inspires them.
Yeah.
And I don't really have that. This is where, when Nero Fish, that is the name that I've registered, which means black fish.
Yeah.
That's a name very personal to me. The way how I would be working is that if you wanted a piece of my work, I would do almost like a Reiki session.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a feel of who you are to understand. And then I would go and create a piece which kind of represents them.
And that's, yeah.
So it's like a one-off piece.
I don't know if you call him Juan or Joan Miro. I never can.
Is it Juan?
Joan, yeah. Joan. John. I'm sure they John Miro. And it's I remember this was in a Tate when I was studying art years ago, and I bought this postcard, but it's called A Star Caresses the Breast of a Negress. If that was now, we probably would have told him he was politically incorrect. But but if you look at this postcard, I'm going to post it. It really resembles a lot of your work, and this was done. Can you see the shapes?
Yeah. Can you send me that?
I'll send you that. That's one of my favorite postcards. I'm not sure if this was done 1938. So this is what I'm saying. So when certain people will say to you that it's like an old artifact of a modern twist, I can see that. But these types of works were created, and the reason why I'm saying that to you is that to let you know that pieces are timeless. That's what I'm saying. So what we think is modern isn't really modern. So when we look at the bohas and the, you know, like the color blocking, that's been done for years, and it came back again. So we think what we think is modern sometimes isn't modern, and it's not to push away what you're doing, but it's to say that your pieces are timeless. Like what you understand, like it's infinity, like your pieces they'll be passed down into generations, and people still wouldn't know what time they come from, because I think the word that comes to me when I see your pieces is there's a quirkiness, but it's also very exquisite.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
It's very intentional. And I do feel that what you just said as well about if somebody wants a piece, you're doing it like you're doing a Reiki session, and you're making that. So you are making, and we've come round full circle. You're making like spiritual objects.
Yeah. I think for me, it's all of these pieces, I kind of no, I always draw before I actually make something. So I have the drawings as well. And like I said to you right at the beginning before we was recording, when I registered Nero Fish, I did 3 classes. So you get one. So obviously 20, I did pottery. And I've also protected photography and textiles.
Wow.
So the photography is that in the past I've taken pictures and it was actually quite a big one because I took a picture of somebody in a bar. I won't go into great details. And that image, I gave the person the picture, and that image was on a digital billboard in Sao Paulo. And I never got photo credit.
Wow. This is really important, guys, to listen, because wow.
I never got photo credit. So at least, the picture on, of the postcard, that's my image. And also textiles, because I'm a knitter and a crocheter. I crochet.
Yeah.
And at some point, not now, but there is another twist that I would like to do with my work. And I would say it would be more of a affordable range rather than these kind of pieces.
So can you just carry on before you go? Just want to ask you the range for your sculptures as well, but carry on.
Well, at the moment, I haven't really put a price on them. I haven't put a price on them. And that at the moment, I feel that hasn't borne yet what a price would actually feel. I feel like I've done, from since 2020, and obviously the date when I got the confirmation from the trademarking that Nero Fish had passed, because there's like 2 months where you have to wait if anyone petitions the name and so forth with the so it's the Intelligent Property Office that you have to go through.
So is it your name, and is it also the pieces, or is it just?
It's the name. It's also the pieces, because the name, like, no one can do it. The pieces it's kind of different, but because it's under the classes of what the work, but copyright of a design, that's different.
Yes, I've done copyright of a design.
So that's different. But if I found this on somebody's website and they're advertising it, then I can say that's my image. That's my image. Certain pieces, while I'm on social media, I won't watermark the pieces.
No.
I won't, because I know it's been copyrighted. It's been registered, so I don't have to worry about that. Copywriting is slightly different. I don't really know about that side of things. At the time, they said I don't really kind of need that.
No. And the people that are probably going to copyright your stuff when it comes to that is, it doesn't, I don't know, because I just know, what I do know is that, there's big brands that have copied people's work. So I think you've done the right thing, because there's so many people on Etsy that's had major companies just take their stuff and make it into, and this is why I always say, we're going to finish shortly, but this is why I say to people, get your work out there, because the minute you make a creative stamp of your work, especially on social media, as long as you have an account and you've got a footprint, that is your evidence. And we're very good nowadays supporting people if this does happen, whereas if your work is in your back room and is not being put out there because you're worried about the wrong people copying you, when it comes to it, the right people with the good lawyers will be able to copy your work. So it's better to put a footprint, even if you're showing pictures of you making the work, because
exactly. I've pretty much got a lot of all the pieces, like with her and the stage, with all of them, I've got all the photos.
Very important, because, and I do feel, and this is what I really state, especially creatives, your design and your creating is one element. A big bunch of it is your business, but you only have to do the hardest bits you have to do for a short space of time. Once you master those difficult things, and that includes your mental state of showing up. Once you master that, everything else gets easy. So when you see people posting and they're doing stuff, it looks like they're doing a lot, but they're not. They've actually just working off the momentum. And so it's really important. And I can't stress that enough. I do feel that sometimes, again, we don't want to show up because we're worried about what would happen. But I think you've obviously, you're demonstrating that massive shift where you've just gone, it's all done that, right? This is it. Like you've had the space, the gift of time, and it feels like your life is in order. So
Yeah.
so what would you say? Last question. What would you say to anybody that wants to do what you're doing? They're sitting at home, they've got stuff they want to put out, products, they're creative, they've got a day job, they might not even have a day job. What would you say to that person about getting their stuff out?
You just got to go for it. You really, you just got to show up of who you are. Sometimes I think initially I was a bit timid, a bit shy, because obviously you're putting yourself out there. And luckily with Reiki, I've never really had to put myself out there. It's just been word of mouth.
Yeah. Also a service, isn't it? When it's a service, when I mean service, I mean with Reiki, you're really giving somebody something, even though it's coming through you. This is where you don't have to do something for anybody, it's for you.
It's important, if they want to do things, is find out in their local area, when there's the next, there's in West Norwood, they have like a market, like the first Sunday of the month. And I think it will start in April. Yeah. And then that runs through maybe sometime, maybe even up until December. I can't remember, but it starts later in the year. It's just finding out what local fairs are going on in your area, depending on what your pieces are. I mean, in sort of in the Brixton area, there's an area by Josephine Avenue where artists put their paintings up around over the weekend, and people of the area or coming in they exhibit their work. But it's just believing in yourself. And I think the belief, the first stage is you've just got to believe in yourself. Everyone could be saying your work is amazing, and it goes back to what you said. You've just got to got to know yourself first and trust yourself. And obviously, I always say trust in the universe, because it's about timing. Sometimes certain things you can't rush. I had to wait nearly a year and a half before I started touching clay again. Yeah. So I needed that time. But there is also new pressures on me because I've put it out as a business, and it's not so much of a hobby. Yeah. And I am passionate about all my pieces, that when someone says, "Oh, would you sell that one?" It's like, no, no.
You'll get. I used to be like that with my art, and I've got some art that I just give away now, and then the rest I do. Well, there's a couple of pieces I wouldn't, but yeah, I used to be like that. It was like, that's not being sold, that's not being sold. But now I still get like that a bit, but I think that the more you do, the more it shows itself for you, and the more you just see them go off. But yeah, I think that journey it's normal, and you said about the pressure of putting those things out there. It's pressure. Well, I think me personally would rather have external pressure than internal pressure, because that internal pressure can make you ill, make yourself implode, whereas external pressure, I feel like when you're creating from the heart, the right people come into your space. When you're creating I should be doing this, I should be doing that, you get the wrong people come to you. But when
definitely. But well, because your message, what you're putting out there, is very fragmented.
And where can they find you again?
Well, it's on Instagram. It's Nero Fish.
Hmm.
It's a bit weird because I couldn't have Nero Fish, so it's like Nero with a zero dash fish.
Okay.
But if you type Nero Fish, you can find me. And I'm building up Nero Fish, and my Instagram is Deb Parky.
Okay. I'll put that in the show notes anyway. Thank you so much for
That's
coming. I
okay.
really
You're
appreciate.
welcome.
And that concludes our International Women's Day series. You've got me back again, just talking and talking. I will have a couple of my clients come on and some people I really enjoy holding space with. Until then, bye for now. You want to be part of an incubator of some amazing creative women, then you need to join the Highly Capable Creative one-to-one program with me. To join, you can just contact me at www.mjfontaine.co.uk and book a sales call with me to join this amazing 6-month program where we get to work on your creative business. We also get to work clearing your blocks and also bringing that confidence up to 100 so you can stand in your agency and live your best life.